Look at the size of this lad, this absolute unit of a ship. This is an Imperial Executor, or Super Star Destroyer / Dreadnought. This model is the jewel of the Imperial Navy, with one of these ships serving as the personal flagship of Lord Vader. If you find yourself watching this video, then that means you will be serving on board this vessel, so listen closely, as having served on one of these ships before, there is plenty to know about how operations work within this ship model's many rooms, halls and corridors, and let me tell you, it is a very different experience than what you would find on other Star Destroyer models. So with that, welcome back to the Imperial Academy, and let's talk about the Executor class Super Star Destroyer / Dreadnought. So, starting off, I want to clarify something. Executor is the name given to Vader's personal Super Star Destroyer. So when I say Executor class, what I'm effectively implying here is other ships of the same model as Vader's Super Star Destroyer, which bears the name Executor. Any other models should have different names. Hopefully that clears up any confusion that may arise with the naming conventions of these ships. But anyway, manufactured for the Empire by the famous and slightly infamous Kuwait Drive Yards. The Executor class Star Destroyer's date of conception is very much up for debate, as is a lot of information regarding these vessels, but we'll say that it was roughly created somewhere around the early Empire, as it was transitioning from the Republic to the way we know it today. During this phase in which the Executors were coming to fruition, Lord Vader himself advocated for the utilisation of the Super Star Destroyer model within the Imperial Navy, believing that they would provide a monumental advantage in terms of firepower and offensive capabilities when compared to traditional destroyers, and they did just that. With 13 Super Star Destroyers in total being created, with some of the names being the Annihilator, the Arbitrator, the Eclipse, not that one, the Ravager, and last but not least, the Executor. These Super Star Destroyers were put into action, and to this day served the Empire valiantly, inspiring fear and discipline throughout the galaxy's sectors, ensuring no one steps out of line, as I'm sure you won't want to find yourself, or your planet, on the bad side of one of these vessels and its personnel. So speaking of such, let's analyse the Executor class Star Destroyers, and then let's look at the onboard operations of these ships. At 19,000 metres, or roughly 11 miles in length, the Executor class is the largest, most powerful Star Destroyer within the entire Imperial Navy, decked out in weaponry that will put most rebel ships to shame, with 750 twin heavy turbo laser batteries, 1,000 twin light turbo laser batteries, 100 ion cannons, 125 assault concussion missile launchers, and 250 turret-mounted quad laser cannons spread across the vessel's hull. Much like the Death Stars, the Executor can unleash an overwhelming barrage of fire which can be absolutely devastating for smaller fleets and ships. Along with its very impressive offensive capabilities, like other Star Destroyers, it has a shield. Big surprise, I know. But for a ship as large as the Executor class, protection is a very important factor, not only for the ship itself but for its crew, with the ship being able to accommodate a staggering 280,000 naval personnel and 38,000 troopers from the Stormtrooper Corps. From that, you can see why the Executor's shield is an important factor for this type of ship, as losing all those personnel would be a very heavy cost for the Empire. Speaking of carrying capacity, the Executor can carry a complement of 1,000 ships, all of which I won't explain, but just know that those include TIE fighters, bombers, interceptors, etc., shuttles, dropships, walkers, and many other vehicles that the Empire makes use of on a daily basis when in battle. TIE squadrons and other starfighters of the TIE family are extremely valuable to the Executor, as good squadron support and coordination is a fantastic way for the Executor to dominate in a battle. Along with TIE squadrons, the Executor is normally escorted by smaller Imperial 1 or 2 class Star Destroyers as part of a fleet. This combined strength and firepower from the Executor and its escorts makes this fleet especially formidable, a good example being the Battle of Hoth, in which Vader's executor and its fleet launched a full-scale assault on the rebel base situated on the planet's surface. Within a fleet, the executor takes on the role of the command ship, giving orders to the other ships within its fleet. Pretty self-explanatory, but in large battles, good communication about offense and defense is crucial, as the executor, being as big of a ship as it is at its most effective and powerful when it has the full support of the Star Destroyers in its fleet. For example, the executor may require cover fire if it is trying to perform a complex maneuver in the heat of a battle, or it may need to retreat, in which the other Star Destroyers will be required to take the full barrage of the enemy's batteries, or in some scenarios it might be more suitable if the smaller ships advance ahead, with the executor offering command orders or tactical support. It really depends on the situation, so with that, let's look at the onboard operations and activities of the executor class Star Destroyer / Dreadnought. So let's address the bantha in the room. If you're working aboard Vader's personal Super Star Destroyer, the Executor, then you know that Vader and Piet run a very tight ship. After all, as the Emperor's top enforcer, it is only suitable that his ship lives up to the same reputation. So what can you expect on board the Executor and ships of a similar class? Well, to state the obvious, the Executor class is big, really big, with the notable aspect that sets it apart from other Star Destroyer models being the large city structure, occupying a large section of the hull. This structure of course contains the many rooms, battle stations and tactical platforms used by the vessel's many personnel. If you specialise in engineering and maintenance, well, the underside of the Executor class near its engines is where you will find yourself the majority of the time. It is crucial that a Star Destroyer of the Executor's type remains in tip-top shape in order to ensure that it is most effective in battle. You will be working alongside some of the Empire's top engineers to ensure that the Executor is battle ready and suited for harsh conflict that may arise from fleet battles. For those of you within the Starfighter Corps, your job will be to get out there into the nitty gritty of a space battle to keep the enemy starfighters from wearing down the Executor and other ships that make up the fleet. You will be dodging and weaving between the heaping masses of both Imperial and enemy capital ships, as well as the swift starfighters that make up the enemy starfighter squadrons. For the naval officers, your job is the most important, as you are required to keep operations on board these ships running at maximum efficiency, which again, given the size of these ships, is quite a difficult thing to do, so you need to be at the top of your game when doing so. Naval officers will be operating the many complex and diverse systems built into these ships, such as the weaponry, data collection, tactical consoles and starfighter operations. Speaking of such, TIE fighter maintenance is another important aspect which contributes to the effectiveness of these ships. Being in a battle requires a fast turnaround time for TIEs to be resupplied, repaired and deployed to ensure the tide of a battle doesn't turn in the enemy fleet's favour. These are all great ways to ensure that the Executor classes operate to their maximum efficiency, but from my time as a Lieutenant Commander on board these ships, I have come to learn that coordination is the main key aspect to ensuring that all of these operations get completed effectively, as without that, well, let's just say that the Super Star Destroyers wouldn't have the reputation that they do. The orders of the captains or admirals are vitally important, as they are responsible for overseeing the entire ship and the operations that take place within, and following those orders demonstrates a well-coordinated ship, whose crew is competent and capable of working with each other to ensure the Executor runs as efficiently as possible, and thus making the most terrifying and powerful ship within not just the Navy, but the entire Empire. But I think you now know about the Executor class Star Destroyer / Dreadnought and how its crew operate it, so that you too can serve aboard on these types of ships, just like I did. And with that, thank you very much for watching. Long live the Empire and may the Force be with you.